Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel Pretty in Paper by B, where we are all about sharing the joy of pretty papers. Now for today's tutorial we're going to be making another Christmas card, but this time using one of my newest PDF and SVG cut files, so you no longer have to do all your cutting by hand. We're going to make a penguin, just like this one. So as you can see, the iris folding is on the penguin's belly, and I've used my SVG cut file to make all the little embellishments. Now don't worry if you don't have a cutting machine, you can do it by hand. So watch the tutorial to find out how you can make your own penguin greetings card. Everything you need is in the box down below. So gather your supplies, get comfy, and let's get crafting. So as you can see, I've got all my craft supplies out ready for today's session, and I've downloaded and printed off the penguin iris folding PDF. Now you can cut out your penguin aperture using the matching SVG file, or you can use the template provided to make your penguin aperture. So I'm just going to cut out the penguin body, following the solid black line around the edge of the shape. Perfect! Okay, now I'm going to position this in the centre of my card base, and I've put the measurements for this in the description. Then I'm going to draw around the edge just to create an outline that I can follow for cutting out my aperture. Now that I've got the outline for my penguin silhouette, I'm going to grab my craft knife and a cutting mat and position the cutting mat underneath my piece of card to protect the surface, and then follow the pencil line with my craft knife to cut out my penguin aperture. Make sure to keep your hand behind the craft knife while you're cutting. Perfect. Okay, so now we have our penguin aperture. Okay, I know it doesn't look much like a penguin yet, but I promise you it will. So now it's time to think about the iris folding. So we don't need our craft knife and our cutting mat anymore, but we do need the penguin pattern, which is included in the PDF. So I'm just going to use a couple of pieces of blue tack to stick this to my table and make sure it doesn't move throughout the iris folding process. Just position this centrally. Perfect. And then I'm also going to use a couple more pieces of blue tack. Just move it down a bit. Couple more pieces of blue tack to stick the aperture over the top of the pattern, and we are going to be working on the reverse side of the card, so make sure your front side is facing down. Okay, perfect. Now let's think about our pretty papers. Now for the penguin we need 4 different pretty papers, as you can see in the penguin pattern guide. So I've got 4 different white papers out in front of me because we're iris folding the belly of the penguin. So from each of your pretty papers, you're going to need to cut a strip about 2 centimetres wide, 1 or 2 per pretty paper. When you've got your paper strips ready, grab a strip of paper A and fold over an edge of about 5 millimetres wide, just wide enough so that you've got a nice crease in your paper strip. Now cut a section large enough to cover number 1 on your iris folding pattern, and with the folded edge facing towards the middle, secure in place with a couple of pieces of sticky tape. Now you're going to repeat this process around the penguin, alternating between each of your pretty papers. Your pattern guide is here to help you through the process. Once you've placed the final strip of your pretty papers, it's time to cover the centre, which is also known as the iris. So I've chosen some white glitter card for this, just to add a bit of sparkle to the design. I'm going to place it face down over the hole in the middle and secure in place with sticky tape. Perfect! Now you can turn over your iris folding and see the results. I love the spiral effect that iris folding creates. Okay, it's not looking much like a penguin at this point, but I promise you it will look like a very cute penguin when we are finished. So now let's cover the back of the iris folding. So today I'm going to be using the mounting technique. I'm going to use foam sticky pads around the edge on the reverse side of my card base, spacing every 4 or 5 centimetres. Then I'm going to peel the backs off and I'm going to add another layer of foam pads on top of these just to make sure there's enough space for the folds beneath the card. Once I've done that, I can mount to another piece of card, slightly bigger than the card base we've chosen today. Again, the measurements for this are in the box below. So now that I've covered the back of my iris folding and I've got a nice silver glittery border around my penguin, I'm going to mount this card topper to the front of a greetings card, square greetings card folded in half to create a nice card base. Again, using foam sticky pads around the edge, but just one layer this time. So now that I've got my penguin mounted to the front of my card base, it's time to add some finishing touches and finally make this look like a penguin. So to start with, I've cut out a couple of pieces of card to make the bottom of my shape look like a snow scene. So I've done a few curved edges and I've made sure that these are the same width as the pearlized blue card base that I started with. I'm just going to use a little bit of PVA glue to stick these to the front of the card. You might notice that I've used a hammered white card for this because I think the hammered effect looks a little bit like snow, don't you? Okay, now I've got the snow base to my penguin iris folding scene, it's time to add the body. So to cut this out, I've used the SVG file, but there are templates included in the PDF if you wanted to do this by hand. So I'm just going to use PVA glue and my tweezers again to position this around my iris folding. You can see it's starting to look like a penguin now, right? Okay, so to add some finishing touches to my penguin shape, I thought I'd cut out a little bobble hat for him and use the same blue card as my card base to tie those colours in together. So again, I'm going to use a little bit of PVA glue to stick these bobble hat pieces together. It's a pretty cute bobble hat, right? Okay, now let's add a little bit of character to this penguin by giving him some feet, some eyes and a nose. Again, you can cut these out using the SVG file or the template provided in the PDF. Now to finish off this iris folding penguin greetings card, I've punched out some paper snowflakes and I'm going to use my tweezers and PVA glue again to add them to the background of my penguin. And there you have it, an iris folding penguin greetings card. Pretty cute, right? So thank you for watching this tutorial, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to my channel for more iris folding videos and tutorials. See you next time.